Hi, I'm Aries. Most people don't expect a guy like me to speak 5 languages fluently, but that's their problem, not mine. When you grow up with a linguistics genius for a mom, you pick up a few things. Your pronunciation is improving, but your subjunctive tense still needs work, Mom said as she ironed a uniform at 5 a.m. Even before heading to clean rich people's houses, she found time to critique my Portuguese. Cut me some slack, it's my 5th language. Not everyone's got your gift, Esther. It's not a gift, it's hard work. Now help me with this coffee before I'm late. My mom, Esther, wasn't always cleaning mansions for a living. Back in our country, she was Professor Martinez, with a PhD in comparative linguistics. Here in America, she's just the maid with the funny accent. Did you finish your application for that translation job? My sister Maya asked, rushing in with her business textbooks. Sent it yesterday. Interviews this afternoon. Good, because my tuition's due next week and we're still short. Maya was the practical one in our family. While I chased language degrees, she went straight for business administration. Someone in this family needs to understand money, she always said. Between my campus library job, weekend tutoring, and night shifts at the convenience store, I was barely keeping up with my graduate studies. But Professor Wilson believed in me. Your analysis of Proto-Germanic influences on modern business language is remarkable, Aries, he told me during office hours. I've recommended you for the Reynolds position. Reynolds? As in Reynolds Translation Services? The very same. Marcus Reynolds himself is interviewing candidates. It's an incredible opportunity. What Professor Wilson didn't understand was that guys like Marcus Reynolds never hired guys like me. But I put on my only decent shirt and showed up anyway. The Reynolds building was all glass and steel, just like the man himself. I waited 2 hours past my appointment time before his assistant finally ushered me in. You're the Martinez kid? Reynolds barely looked up from his phone. Professor Wilson says you're some kind of language prodigy. I speak 5 languages fluently and I can read 3 more. Everyone speaks multiple languages these days. What makes you special? I handed him my portfolio. I've developed a computational approach to cultural nuance in translation that, look, kid, we deal with billion-dollar contracts. One mistranslation costs millions. I don't need some scholarship case experimenting with my clients. He glanced at my resume. Your mother's a house cleaner? She was a linguistics professor before. Fascinating. Well, I'll keep your resume on file. The universal code for never going to call you. I walked out with my dignity in shreds. 3 bus transfers later, I arrived home to find Maya looking concerned. Did you get it? What do you think? Mom walked in looking exhausted but smiling. I have good news. I got a new client. Pays double my usual rate. That's great. Who is it? Maya asked. Some tech CEO. Name's Reynolds. Huge mansion across town. My stomach dropped. Marcus Reynolds? That's him. Do you know him? We just met. And trust me, Mom, you don't want to work for that guy. We need the money, Aries. His wife hired me to start tomorrow. Said something about a big party they're hosting. I couldn't tell her what happened. We needed that money. But the thought of my brilliant mother cleaning that arrogant jerk's toilets made my blood boil. Just be careful around him, okay? I've dealt with difficult employers before. Besides, it's just temporary until I can find something better. If only I knew then what was coming. If only I could have warned her about what kind of man Marcus Reynolds really was. After a week of working at the Reynolds mansion, Mom came home looking drained in a way I hadn't seen since we first immigrated. That man is impossible. He made Louisa redo the entire dining room floor because he found a single smudge near the doorway. Did you tell him off? Maya asked, pouring Mom some tea. And lose the best-paying job I've had in years? No, but his wife Victoria apologized afterward. She seems decent, just completely blind to what a monster she married. What's she like? I grabbed a chair, curious about the woman who could tolerate Marcus Reynolds. Pretty, quiet, always apologizing for him. He's under a lot of pressure, she says. Meanwhile, he's making the gardener trim the hedges twice because the first cut was uninspired. 2 days later, Mom returned with fresh gossip. I met his business partner today, Richard something, tall guy, fancy watch. Just as bad as Reynolds, but smoother about it. What happened? Richard spilled coffee on purpose to watch me clean it up, then told Reynolds he was quality testing the help. They both laughed like it was the funniest thing ever. That's straight up harassment, Mom. You should quit. And go where? Besides, they're hosting some big party tomorrow night, double pay for all staff. The next evening, I was helping Professor Wilson grade papers when my phone buzzed. A text from Maya. Emergency. Mom needs pickup from Reynolds' party. Come now. I found Mom waiting outside the mansion service entrance, her uniform stained with red wine. What happened? Reynolds was showing off for his guests, deliberately tripped and spilled wine on me, then said, "That's coming out of your check." I was ready to storm in there, but Mom grabbed my arm. "Wait, something's happening. They're all going to the library for some kind of game. Let's watch through the side door." We slipped in through the kitchen. The party had moved to Reynolds' massive library, where about 30 guests in expensive clothes were gathered around something on the table. "Ladies and gentlemen," Reynolds announced, holding up an ancient-looking scroll. "My latest acquisition, a rare Etruscan text from the 6th century BCE. No one has successfully translated this particular fragment." A woman in pearls spoke up. "Can you read it, Marcus?" "Not completely, but I've studied enough to recognize key phrases." A man who must have been Richard clapped his hands. "Marcus here has a proposition. Anyone who can translate this text gets his salary for the month." The guests laughed, knowing none of them could possibly meet the challenge. "That's $50,000, Reynolds bragged. "Any takers?" I glanced at Mom. She was staring at the scroll with an intensity I recognized. Before I could stop her, she stepped forward into the room. "I'd like to try." The room went silent. Reynolds looked at Mom like she'd crawled out from under a rock. "My cleaning lady thinks she can read ancient Etruscan." He threw his head back, laughing. "This should be entertaining." Victoria looked mortified. "Marcus, please." No. Let's see what the maid knows about one of the most obscure dead languages in history. Come closer, lady. Take a good look." Mom approached the table, shoulders back, head high, the posture of the professor she used to be, not the maid they thought she was. "Well?" Reynolds smirked. "Enlighten us." Mom studied the ancient text, her posture transforming before the room of stunned guests. "This is a commercial contract detailing the sale of 20 amphoras of Athenian olive oil to be delivered before the festival of Voltumna, with specific payment terms and penalty clauses for late delivery." She continued translating flawlessly, explaining linguistic nuances and cultural context that left the guests murmuring in amazement. "The final section invokes the goddess Uni against those who would break their word," Mom concluded, staring directly at Reynolds. "That was remarkable. Where did you learn Etruscan?" Victoria asked, approaching with wide eyes. "I was a professor of comparative linguistics at the University of Santiago before immigrating." Reynolds' face reddened. "This is absurd. You must have seen this document before. She cheated. Probably looked it up while cleaning my office." I stepped forward. "The translation was flawless. Pay up, Reynolds." "Who the hell are you?" "Her son, and I know enough about ancient languages to confirm she nailed it." "Get out of my house, both of you. You're fired." "Marcus, you promised," Victoria protested. "I'm not giving 50 grand to the help for a party trick." The next morning, Maya was furious when we told her what happened. "People like Reynolds think they can get away with anything. Not this time." She pulled out her laptop. "My friend from class interned at the Business Journal. She's looking for a story." 2 days later, we met Sophia at a coffee shop. Sharp-eyed and ambitious, she got straight to business. "So your mom embarrassed a billionaire by being smarter than him. I need actual dirt. Financial irregularities, harassment, fraud. I can get statements from other household staff," Maya offered. "And I've got access to company documents through Professor Wilson," I added. That evening, I discovered something shocking in the files. These are Professor Wilson's methodologies, word for word, but branded as Reynolds' proprietary system. "He stole them?" Maya asked, leaning over my shoulder. "And there's more." I showed her emails where Reynolds instructed his team to adapt research without attribution. We spent weeks building our case. Mom connected us with other domestic workers who shared stories of abuse. Maya uncovered labor complaints. Sophia found financial discrepancies. My contribution was decoding Reynolds' business communications. Years of studying language patterns helped me identify coded phrases hiding questionable practices. When properly translated, innocent-sounding emails revealed plans to manipulate contracts and deceive clients. Reynolds Translation Services is hosting their annual client showcase next Thursday, Sophia announced during our strategy meeting. "Every major client and industry reporter will be there." "Perfect timing," Maya said. "I've got us tickets through my business school." "Are we really doing this?" Mom asked nervously. "He humiliated you after stealing your dignity for years," I said. "And he's been stealing from people like Professor Wilson, too. It's time someone translated Reynolds' actions into consequences." The Reynolds Translation Service's annual showcase was even more extravagant than I'd imagined. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, and displays highlighting their innovative translation methods, the very ones stolen from Professor Wilson. You ready for this? Sophia adjusted her press badge while Maya and I straightened our business attire. Been ready for years, I replied, watching Mom enter through a side door. She'd insisted on coming despite our concerns. Reynolds took the stage to thunderous applause. Welcome to our celebration of language excellence. Tonight we unveil our revolutionary approach to cultural context preservation in translation, a Reynolds exclusive methodology. That was our cue. I stepped forward while Sophia positioned herself near the industry reporters. Exclusive methodology? You mean the one you stole from Professor Wilson at State University? The room went silent. Reynolds squinted into the crowd. Security, remove this person. Before you do that, Maya called out, passing USB drives to nearby executives, you might want to see the proof. Emails showing Reynolds instructing his team to repurpose academic research without attribution. Plus testimony from 15 former employees about systematic intellectual theft, Sophia added, her recorder visible. Reynolds forced a laugh. These are baseless accusations from disgruntled applicants. Richard, back me up here. Richard had been reviewing the documents on his tablet, his face growing paler by the second. He stepped away from Reynolds. I need to speak with legal immediately. You knew about this? Someone shouted. I had no knowledge of any intellectual property theft, Richard replied, already distancing himself. If these allegations prove true, they represent actions taken by Marcus without board approval. Throwing me under the bus, Richard? Reynolds hissed. Call it self-preservation, Richard muttered, walking away. What about the workplace abuses? I continued, projecting images of complaint filings onto the presentation screen. Or the pattern of humiliating domestic staff, like challenging a maid to translate Etruscan and refusing to pay when she succeeded? A gasp went through the crowd as Mom stepped forward. You, Reynolds pointed. This is all because you couldn't take a joke? A joke? You promised $50,000? It was entertainment for my guests. Everyone understood that. I didn't, Victoria's voice cut through as she entered from the back. And I've reviewed our accounts. You've been moving company funds into personal projects for years. Victoria, don't do this. I've filed for divorce, Marcus. And as majority shareholder through my family's investment, I'm calling for your resignation. The room erupted in chaos. Clients huddled in corners reassessing their contracts. Reporters furiously took notes. Reynolds grabbed a microphone for one last desperate attempt. This is a coordinated attack on a successful American business. These people are... The microphone cut off. Within 30 minutes, the event had transformed into a corporate meltdown. 3 months later, Mom accepted a visiting professorship in linguistics at State University. Professor Wilson and I launched a boutique translation firm specializing in ancient texts. Maya finished her degree and joined Sophia at the Business Journal, where their Reynolds expose won a regional award. As for Reynolds himself, I saw him last week outside a downtown coffee shop. No designer suit, no entourage, just a man with a tattered reputation, scrolling through job listings on his phone. Need help translating that resume into something honest? I asked as I passed. He didn't respond. He didn't have to. The look on his face said everything. The millionaire who'd scoffed at the Maid had lost everything to the very people he'd underestimated. That's the end of our story. What would you do if you were in Aries' position? Would you have exposed Marcus publicly and ruined his reputation? Or would you have pursued a private settlement instead? The public takedown satisfied their need for justice, but was it the right approach? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever been underestimated or disrespected because of your job or background? How did you handle it? If you enjoyed this revenge story of talent triumphing over arrogance, hit that like button to help others find it too. Subscribe for more unique stories that'll keep you entertained and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching.